What's up, everybody? I want to give a quick shout out to Kid Slam Art. I got this like 2017 in like December or November. He's an artist from Canada, and he does some really cool stuff. And these are really old fruit snacks, but we can't let them go to waste, so I'm still gonna eat them later. But yeah, Kid Slam Art, link in the description. Temporus clock. Good news, they're not that hard to disassemble. You disassemble this a lot like you would a regular old clock. You know, there's just this seam along the side. I use a razor blade and just carefully work it in a small little gap, and then just push, and then it'll open up some, and then just kind of work your way around and do that for all of them, because there's just pegs that are holding it together. And you don't want to like full on push it all off at once. You want to do it a little bit at a time on all four. You use the back end of the razor blade because it's a little bit stronger, not quite as flimsy. But that seems quite dangerous because now the blade is next to my finger. Cutting your fingers makes clock very unpleasant, so I recommend using like a screwdriver or something and being more cautious than I am. So anyway, now your clock is apart, so just set that aside, and then these magnets aren't glued in, so you got to be kind of careful with taking them out, because you don't want to break them, and all the pins will just fall out. Okay, so the magnets, there's one magnet in each of the pins, and then these magnets on the outside of the case are not glued in. So like I said, you got to be careful removing them. I'm just going to take this metal screwdriver. They're also easier to pull off if the pin is down. So these magnets are pretty easy to break. I haven't broken any of the ones off the Angstrom clock, but I've broken other ring magnets. I'm going to do the same with the other side. Just kind of go around, get all the magnets off so they're not flying anywhere I'm not expecting them to. And they're all the same. You can put them all in one stack. Okay, so this one is the first time I ever disassembled this one, and it doesn't have cutouts like the other one I disassembled. I'll put a picture up on screen. So there was little like cutouts for the magnets to go into, and they just kind of sat in there. So I don't think it really will make a difference without having those cutouts there. It'll just make the magnets a little bit weaker on this one. Alright, so now you've pretty much just got a normal clock. There are two screws, so yeah, you just take that off. There's not very much lube in here. I'll probably record how I lubricate this, and then if anybody wants to see that, you can let me know. One thing I am going to recommend you do is fix these springs though. So I made a video about the jumping or teleporting clock faces before, and in it I just said you need to cut the springs, and that's what they've done on one side. I found out not long after making that video, cutting the springs isn't actually the best way to fix it. The best way is to take this little thing that sticks out and bend it. So you bend it down, and then it just kind of sits along the side like that. And that's better than cutting, because if you cut it, there's still a little end right up here that can get caught on the plastic pieces in there. So if you bend it, the other side, like this is almost impossible to get caught with it bent like that. So this totally eliminates the problem. When I was cutting the springs, I did still have a bit of an issue with that jumping and teleporting faces. So that is something I recommend you go ahead and fix, because Katie Hall's Angstrom Temporus clock was having the problem with teleporting faces, and so that is not what we want. Okay, so it appears a magnet has come out of one of these pins, and that is not something I want to have happen. So be careful about this, I guess. Okay, your clock might be lubricated, maybe you just took it apart for fun. Either way, you want it back together. Well, you've come to the right place. Alright, we're going to use a one at a time approach. So, take a pin, put it in. Good grief. I think glue might be a good idea for these magnets, because they are falling out all over the place. So, Good news is the magnets in the pins are interchangeable with the magnets that go on the outside of the pins. So you can just put it in, put a magnet on top. And then we can put this in our case and start assembling from there. Ooh, I forgot to bend this one. I'm going to go ahead and do that now because I don't want that to cause any problems later. You can pretty much drop these pins in now. Then need all the little faces on. Now, it doesn't matter which way they go on, it'll always be solvable. That's an amazing part about clock. Then we're going to screw on the other side of the casing. I screw them just all the way down in, not so they're tight, just so they aren't going any further. And then I do is I just loosen them a couple wrist turns. So I just give them a little bit of that, just so everything on the inside has a bit of breathing room, can move around however it pleases. At least that's how I like my clocks, just a little bit of tension on the inside. I'm going to go ahead and put all those pins back in. And now we need magnets on this side. So it's going to be easiest if you push the pins up to stick the magnet to it. You just drop it on like that, and then you're good to go. Again, polarity doesn't really matter. The polarity kind of figures itself out. So we're all good here. And then you'll put the other face on. You want to make sure, you want to make sure noon is facing the same way while also not dumping out all these little pins. That is a mistake I've made a number of times now, and you were here to join me for all of them. I don't really know if there's any certain way this needs to go on, so I'm just going to stick it on like this and see if it works, because my other one didn't. So yeah, you could probably be a bit more careful with it than that. Just line up all the pins, and again, don't go all the way at once. Kind of work your way around, push them in slowly, so it's not like one's all the way in and then one you'll have a hard time lining them up. Yeah, so that's about it. If you have any questions about this clock, any other magnetic clock in general, Rubik's clock, solvent clock, let me know. I really love the event. And again, check out Kit Slam art. He made that out of an Oreo. Pretty cool. I'll talk to you guys again at some point. I don't know. Thanks for watching.